Welcome back to Have Bronco Will Travel. So I haven't filmed a video in a while, and the biggest reason I haven't filmed the video is because it's insanely hot out. It's about 92 degrees today. I have no air conditioning inside of my garage, and today's one of the cooler days we've had in a long time. So it's just been difficult to get out in the garage to do a lot of work when it's so hot. Plus it's the summer, so I'm trying to take my weekends and go to the mountains and do fun things. Hopefully when the fall comes and things cool down a little bit, I'll be getting out more often into the garage and getting a lot more work done. But that doesn't mean nothing is happening, and I wanted to shoot this video just as an update for the things that are going on around the garage. Now the biggest thing I've got going on is right behind me. So I have been working to refurbish the seats that came original in this vehicle, which includes two bucket seats in the front and a rear bench seat. Now I'm probably only going to keep the rear bench seat. I will probably either sell the frames of the bucket seats or I might restore them and sell those as well. If you're interested in that, let me know. Now as part of this process, I filmed two videos where I tore those seats apart, which meant taking the cushions off of it, taking the covers off of it, inspecting the underlying frame, and seeing what needed to be done there. Now the frames were a little rusty, so they needed to be sandblasted, and once they were sandblasted, they needed a protective coating on them so that when I do restore these, they will last basically forever. So what I ended up doing is applying powder coating to this, and I found a vendor for that. Might have been able to go with paint, it might have even been cheaper, but I had other things I needed to powder coat anyway, so it made sense to put this in with that batch of materials. Now, what you see behind me right here is the powder coated rear bench bottom right here. Now with this bottom, I have also found a vendor that manufactures a cushion for this bottom, and that vendor is LMC Trucks. Now behind that is the back portion of the bench seat, and this is nicely powder coated. I very much like the way it came out. The downside, and this is something I wasn't expecting, is I cannot find a single vendor that makes a cushion for the bench backrest, which is strange because there is a vendor for the seat bottom, but not the back, and I would have thought those would have come together. So that's put me in a bind, and I gotta be honest, I'm kind of at fault for it. Now I wanted to know how everything in my Bronco works, which means I wanted to put my hands on it, and I wanted to tear it apart and see how it actually came together. But in that process, as I pulled the cushions out, they were just infested with rat middens, and I knew I needed to get those out of the garage just for health reasons. So I went ahead and threw those out, but I didn't actually take any dimensions of them. Now I have found an upholsterer that will restore this seat for me. I just need to provide to them the seat cushions and the seat covers, and the seat covers are coming from Freewheeling Broncos, which does a nice Indian blanket seat that would have been period correct. But I don't know where to get that back cushion. So what I might have to do, and it pains me greatly, is there are some people online that are selling perfectly good bench seats. I might have to buy one, which could be over $1,000, just to get the cushion out of it so I can actually get the dimensions on it or swap that cushion in for this bench seat. Now part of me would say, hey, if it's a good bench seat, I might just use that bench seat and just get rid of this one. I don't want to do that because this is the bench seat that came in the Bronco I bought, and I want to put it back in there. So for that and other reasons, dominantly, I might want to get a scan of that bench seat so I can actually understand what it looks like, maybe get a CAD drawing of it and set up vendors to fabricate it. That might be a route to go too, because I am also interested in setting up a baseline for the Bronco. And for parts that I figure out how to actually make or get a vendor set up, I might even be interested in creating a business and selling those if anybody's interested in that. So that might be some work forward, but we're working on that right now. Now the other things I did is the two front bucket seats. And you can see the passenger bucket seat right there and the driver's side bucket seat right here. So like the bench seat, I had that, basically I had that sanded down and I had them powder coated. Now this is an area that kind of irks me a little bit. I don't know if it's worth being angry about or not, but I'll use this as an example. So this is a bracket that goes on the bottom of the bench seat. And the function of this is you can pull this lever right here, which will disconnect the bench seat from the bottom so you can pivot it forward. So I took this as an example to the vendor and said, hey, look, there are moving parts on this. When this is done coating, these parts still need to be moving. And I went over everything that had a joint or needed to move and the stuff that I gave him. And I did ask him, does it make sense to powder coat this? Because if powder coating is going to stop these parts from moving, I cannot have this powder coated, let me know. The answer was, yeah, we can work with you and we can make that happen. And they didn't. They just powder coated it over everything so that everything with a joint wasn't moving. So what I had to do is I had to get a heat gun and put the heat gun to it to kind of melt the powder coating so I could actually work those joints free, which I have done by and large, and that was the guidance that the vendor gave me. I was a little bit miffed because I wanted to tell the vendor, no, you take a heat gun to it and fix it, because I expected these back in working order, which was our agreement. Didn't want to get into it with him, so I went ahead and just took them back myself and got all these working now. But one thing that just kind of got under my skin a little bit. Now, the other thing I'm kind of working on is things like this right here. So this is a hard plastic backing that goes on the bench seats. So when I took these off, on the passenger side, these little tabs here broke, and I had to break them to get them off the vehicle so I could actually get the upholstery off. And on both of them, there are screw holes that go right here that have been perforated. So I can't really put these back in because they're not totally in working order, and nobody sells these anymore. So I did find a CAD vendor, which is a vendor that will scan things in, and once they scan them in, they will create a CAD drawing and make any repairs that you need in CAD space. So I sent this to them, and they indeed did give me a CAD drawing of this. I also sent them a body mount cover. Now, you may remember in earlier videos that the two front body mount covers are completely rusted through, so I wanted to buy new ones to put them in there. The problem is that nobody makes body mount covers like they did in 1979. So the ones that you can buy now are completely flat and they don't have the geometry of the original body mount covers. So I probably could have bought those and been just fine, but I do want to restore this Bronco to its original condition, so I needed to find a way to manufacture those since nobody made them. So again, I had those scanned in, and I am about to have those sent to a vendor to have those manufactured for me as well. So those are kind of the big things going on in the seat space. I'm actually hoping by about mid to late September to have the bench seat completely reupholstered. I think the holdup though is going to be the rear bench cushion and whether or not I can find one in time. So that may be a lot more expensive than it needs to be. I may have to buy a completely workable bench seat just to tear the cushion out. So we're going to see how that goes. Now, the other thing too I'm going to have to fix is in the powder coating process, there was a rubber mount right here. They didn't protect it and it completely melted. So I'm going to have to find a way to cut that off and put something new on in its place. Shouldn't be too difficult, but it's just one thing I'm going to have to work on. Now, the last thing that's kind of going on right now is I am restoring the thermostatic air filter. Now, that includes tearing it out, completely cleaning it, sandblasting it, putting a protective layer of paint on it, which wasn't stock, but I'm going to do it anyways, and actually figuring out how it correctly connects, because it wasn't hooked up correct when I bought it, and there was reasons for that, but I am making a whole video series about that, so hopefully that should be coming out pretty soon as well. Now, a couple other things I'm going to have to do that I haven't really started yet, but I'm not predicting that they're going to be too big of a deal, is there is a sway bar that goes in the bottom of the bench seat. That sway bar was not present when I bought this, so that may be another reason I need to buy an actual working condition seat, is just to get that sway bar off of it, scan it in, and actually have someone manufacture that part. The reason I would do that as opposed to just replacing it is so that way I could probably resell the working bench seat when I'm done with it. Now, the other thing too is the bracket that connects the bench seat, the driver's side bracket is bent, and so I'm going to probably have to have that scanned in, corrections made in the CAD drawing so I can actually have one manufactured. Once that is there, I'm completely done with all the stuff going on now. I'm trying not to move on from the things I have going on now because I have so many parts that are just laying around the garage. I've tried to organize them, but if I add too much more to them right now, I'm going to lose track. But once that's done, we're going to start moving on to the rest of the engine bay, which will be, tearing down the carburetor, rebuilding it, cleaning it, and then pulling out the engine and working on the engine as well. The one thing I will say, and I think this is important for anybody who wants to take on an effort like this, is expect to spend a lot of time that you weren't expecting to spend. Some of the simplest things, which back in 1979 would have meant just going down to the hardware store, buying a part, coming back and putting it in, do not go that quickly anymore because nobody manufactures those parts. And even simple things such as rubber hosing, that nobody makes with the interior radius that they did back in the day. You have to find someone who's going to custom make that. Simple things like the vacuum valve that comes with the air filter, nobody makes that anymore. So getting those things fixed, which you would have thought would be a 20-minute effort, it can take 3 months. Just finding out how these things work, tearing them apart, finding vendors for them. Maybe somebody does sell them, but you may spend days finding someone who does sell them. These things don't go as quickly as you might think, and some of these things are just simple components in a much bigger vehicle. That's going to happen, but to be honest, it's also kind of the fun, because through that process, you really do learn how your vehicle works, which is one thing I've enjoyed. So with that, that's all I've got going on right now. I'm going to go ahead and close out this video, and I will see you in the next video.